HHN 34 might be the best and most ambitious year in Universal's history. Fallout, confirmed. Friday the 13th, confirmed. Five Nights at Freddy's, almost confirmed, kind of. Terrifier, maybe, maybe not, but we'll get to that. The Conjuring, probably. And somehow the originals are just as engrossing. A haunted painter channeling grief through demonic brushstrokes. We have two supernatural bounty hunters tearing through a Wild West town full of lava demons. A Nordic nightmare where monsters stalk you through snowbound silence. A flesh-eating underworld that begins with your own grave. And a dollhouse full of burned, broken toys that want to play forever. Couple all that with the intentional commitment to theming we heard in the panel at Spooky Empire, and y'all, this year isn't just stacked, it's tailored. And for the first time, I get to see it. This will be my first ever HHN, and I promise I'm going to be one of those suckers that forks out $200 for that weird stained glass magnet thing. I've been watching from the sidelines for years, living vicariously through vlogs and house rankings, but this year I'm going, and I think you should go too. I think Universal has intentionally outdone themselves to give the entire planet a reason to be just 10 short minutes away from the newest theme park in over 20 years. Up first, the confirmed houses, we have Fallout. Here's what you need to know about Fallout. It is officially confirmed, and it's a first for the franchise. The house is tied to the hit Amazon Prime show, not the games, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's reportedly set in Vault 31, which is a lore-rich location filled with dark twists. And the retro-futurist apocalypse vibe is just perfect for HHN. Let's break it down. Fallout's blend of atomic nostalgia, radiation monsters, and crumbling optimism fits HHN better than almost any property I can think of. Except maybe BioShock. It's my favorite game of all time. I would love to see a BioShock house, but that may be a little too niche for everyone. Even if this house leans on the TV show, not the games, I am still ready to walk into Vault Tech's worst idea. Vault 31 isn't in any of the games, but I'm sure we can be on the lookout for what Fallout does best, right? That social commentary on the preservation of the elite and the corporate manipulation of society. The games have their frightening moments for sure, so really I can't wait to see what Universal does with this IP. Oh, and if they gave me a Mr. Handy scare actor, I may never recover. Friday the 13th. Why Jason Universe? That isn't just a catchy name Universal slapped on the house, it's the official branding that's being rolled out by Horror Inc., which is the company that owns Adult Jason and the sequel rights. Here's what you need to know about Jason Universe. It marks my favorite masked slasher's return to HHN in over a decade. It's part of a bigger brand expansion by Horror Inc. for the franchise's 45th anniversary. The trailer shows the iconic hockey mask and a Crystal Lake sign, which means the licensing puzzle has been solved. We'll talk about that. This isn't just a tribute house, really. We might be walking through extended canon. So, what is Jason Universe? Jason Universe is a newly launched brand identity from Horror Inc. meant to bring Jason into a shared horror multiverse. We might actually get that Freddy versus Jason versus Ash that I'd love to see. Think movies, video games, collectibles, and immersive events like HHN, all unified under a single label. The house should be considered the new beginning of the life and times of Jason Voorhees. So what does this mean as far as licensing rights go? Okay, it breaks down like this. Victor Miller owns the original script and the US rights to Camp Crystal Lake as a thing, Pamela Voorhees, and I guess what I'm going to call Tween Jason, the one that jumped out and got the girl at the end of the first one that may or may not have been retconned. Horror Inc. owns Adult Jason, the hockey mask, the sequels, and the international rights. And New Line Cinema, they've got kind of a light dusting of trademarks and ties to the 2009 reboot. So for Universal to use both the mask and the lake in their trailer, they had to make a multi-party deal. And they did. The house is official, and it's probably the start of something longtime fans of the franchise like me have been looking forward to for decades. I'm excited for this house and what it means for the franchise's future. Rumored heavy hitters. Five Nights at Freddy's. Here's what you need to know about FNAF. It isn't confirmed yet, technically, but widely expected. This may be the biggest open secret in HHN at the moment. The franchise has massive Gen Z power and YouTube lore aplenty. The movie made nearly $300 million despite mediocre reception, and if Universal leans into the analog horror vibe, this could be massive. Let's break it down. This is one I want to experience as a newbie. All I really know about the franchise is that it's kind of Chuck E. Cheese in hell. If Five Nights at Freddy's makes the lineup, it'll be like watching an internet myth step into the real world. I'm gonna want flickering lights, retro CRTs, and hopefully one deeply unpleasant jump scare from Freddy himself. This is the property I'm least familiar with, so I can't wait to have a new horror obsession. Terrifier. Here's what you need to know. Terrifier is rumored but unconfirmed. Art the Clown has a rabid fan base of devoted gore enjoyers. The franchise is known for over-the-top brutality, and Universal's hesitation might be less about rights and more about risk. Let's break it down. The HHN community seems to think that a Terrifier house is pretty much a done deal at this point, but I'm a little skeptical. Look, if Universal builds a Terrifier house, longtime fans and recent viewers are going to want the hacksaw scene. They're expecting that bathroom. They're expecting something that will make them feel almost cosmically squeamish. Universal would have to deliver such an over-the-top experience that it makes the guest want to go home because this isn't fun anymore. The house would have to make people examine their life choices. It would have to be spiritually dangerous. And Universal, they don't do dangerous. They do controlled chaos. They do illusion. There's just no win for Universal here. If they make a Terrifier house and it isn't extreme enough, they're going to get roasted on the internet forever and risk losing the respect of the horror community. If they do go far enough, or even too far, headlines, complaints, lawsuits. They risk people deciding not to come see HHN and maybe even miss Epic Universe because the whole thing is just too much. I mean, I get it, but it's not like Universal doesn't go super hard when they need to. Body Collectors in 2005 gave us live spinal extractions. The Thing Assimilation in 2007 turned an entire soundstage into a meat blender. It was like Christmas with the Cronenbergs. But even at that, those houses felt theatrical. That was a presentation. Terrifier would need to feel criminal. That's a big ask, and maybe a bigger risk. The Conjuring. Here's what you need to know. The Conjuring universe has the mood, lore, and characters HHN loves. Rights issues may have cleared. Rumors are saying that Warner Brothers is finally starting to play ball. It would be the most mainstream scary IP in the lineup, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it in the best way possible. If a Conjuring house happens, it could be one of the sleeper hits of the event. Let's break it down. Creepy dolls, haunted basements, that whispering nun in the corner of the church. You already know the drill, but The Conjuring doesn't just rely on jump scares. It's soaked in emotional stakes. Possession as punishment, hauntings as generational curses. It hits that very specific horror itch. The kind where you don't want the ghost wants you. And that's a deep, powerful category of supernatural storytelling. There's really only two kinds of ghost stories. The ones where the people don't want the ghost, and the kind where they do. The Conjuring universe absolutely delivers on the first kind, and for the second kind, that leads me to the first Universal creative house, El Artista. El Artista, here's what you need to know. El Artista is the first original house confirmed for HHN 34. The concept is gothic, ghostly, and art-driven, like a haunted gallery. It's got Phantom of the Opera meets Evil Dead vibes. Everything is coming together to show that Universal might be putting the haunted house back into the haunted house. Let's break it down. Where The Conjuring gives an uninvited haunting, El Artista is the opposite. This is a ghost story born from longing, from loss, from desperation. He doesn't want to banish the ghost. He wants to keep it. El Artista is grief made flesh. He's kind of doing a reverse Dorian Gray. Instead of cheating time, El Artista fails at cheating death. And with Dylan Coleth at the helm, The same designer who gave us the emotionally devastating fog of Dead Man's Pier and the ritualistic dread of Blood Moon, we're not just getting atmosphere, we're getting intentional, elegant terror that lingers long after you leave the house. A fascinating and tragic tale of love and loss. I expect this house will be filled with terror and misery in the best possible way. Up next, we have Hatchet and Chains. Here's what you need to know. It's a Slaughter Cinema fan favorite turned Full House, set in a Wild West town overrun by lava demons. You're caught between Hellspawn and two demon-hunting anti-heroes. It's gritty, pulpy, and the early favorite for original House of the Year. Let's break it down. This house started as a trailer inside Slaughter Cinema 2, and now it has its own spotlight. I'm looking at Dusk Till Dawn, but with Hellfire and a rad chain whip. We can expect graveyards, saloons, demon fights, and serious grindhouse energy. It's the kind of original that makes longtime HHN fans like myself lose our minds. Gálkn, Monsters of the North. Here's what you need to know. Gálkn is rooted in Nordic folklore set in a remote and brutal winter landscape. You're not just walking into a village, you're being hunted through it. Expect horned, winged, and wolf-like beasts straight from ancestral nightmares. It reportedly ends in the belly of the beast. Literally. Let's break it down. This isn't snow for aesthetic, it's snow as silence, as isolation. It feels like a Wendigo myth that got loose during a Norse blood moon. The house design teases snowy cabins, distant screams, and a forest that watches you breathe. I expect fur, fangs, and frostbite. And if they pull it off, this might be one of the most viscerally immersive houses of the year. This is primal horror, not the fear of dying, but the fear of being hunted. And I love a good snow hell anyway, right? The typical Western fire and brimstone, it's such a dark red and black aesthetic. I love horror in blue and white. It's like the Ghostbusters house. It's just beautifully terrifying. This might be the house I'm looking the most forward to, after Jason Universe, of course. Grave of the Flesh. Here's what you need to know. You don't just enter a grave, you enter your grave. The house takes you through a descent into the underworld. You're being chased by flesh eaters in claustrophobic ritualistic tunnels. This is the most body horror-driven original in the lineup. Let's break it down. This one doesn't tease the afterlife, it buries you in it. Grave of the Flesh feels like The Descent meets Hellraiser. You're not a visitor, you're a victim, maybe even a sacrifice. The theming is deep, literal, and personal. You're entombed in limestone, crawling toward a light that keeps retreating. Universal doesn't often lean into pure body horror, so when they do, it's a good bet this house will be intense, physical, and deeply uncomfortable. Dolls, Let's Play Dead. Here's what you need to know. You're shrunk to the size of a doll inside a haunted playroom. Your predators are the melted, burning, stitched-together toys around you. The finale brings you inside a deranged Victorian dollhouse. This is the Uncanny Valley in full force. Childhood turns sinister. Let's break it down. This is the one that creeps under your skin before anything even jumps out. Dolls, Let's Play Dead isn't about gore, it's about unease. It's about being the wrong size in the wrong world, surrounded by things that used to be safe. It's what happens when the toy box becomes a trap and the playroom becomes a prison. I'm calling this the darkest possible reframing of that Disney Toy Story Green Army Man experience. I expect cracked porcelain heads, oversized blocks stained with age, and stitched teddies with bad intentions. It's less screams in the dark and more slow realization that you're not getting out. And honestly, I think this might be the sleeper hit of the year, depending on the horror to campiness ratio. So how does this lineup stack up? Well, this might be the most stacked HHN ever. Not because it has the most famous IPs, but because the balance is perfect. Fallout brings nuclear nostalgia and retro-futurist dread. Jason Universe is slasher royalty finally unchained. Five Nights at Freddy's turns internet urban legend into analog horror. Terrifier is the bloodbath that dares Universal to blink. The Conjuring delivers slow-burn supernatural terror with heavy emotional weight. Artista paints gothic grief into spectral horror. Hatchet and Chains is a grindhouse western from hell, literally. Gálkn is primal Nordic folklore where the snow wants to kill you. Grave of the Flesh drags you into your own crypt for body horror ritual, and Doll's Let's Play Dead makes childhood uncanny, creepy, and cruel. It's not just that every type of horror is represented here, it's that every single one feels so intentional. I've gone back through the last 6 years of lineups, and this year doesn't just compete. It might be the best one ever. So is HHN 34 really the year of the GOAT? I think it is, but probably because it's my year. If you're a first-timer like me, let me know in the comments. If you're a long-time vet, tell me how this year stacks up. Thank you so much for watching my very first YouTube video. If you like what you saw, bring 9 friends and let's hit double-digit subscribers. Or drop your HHN hot take in the comments. I promise I'll read them all. Either way, until next time, I hope I get stuck in line next to you.